Hey guys, I'm so excited. So we're back with our part two, chat with Camille Maurine. I shared with you guys in the last video. She's been one of my mentors. She's a performing artist. She's a writer. Um, she's uh, she's a woman who leads women into spiritual embodiment, and she's one of those people that I've been wanting to talk about the feminine for a long, long time. Welcome, Camille.
Thank you, Tanya. So happy to be in this conversation. Important.
So important, especially now that we have a female vice president. I feel like we should always be talking about this, but I think now is as good a time as any. One of the things I feel that through childhood or through whatever experiences people have had in life, um, traumas, a lot of us become a little bit removed from our essential nature. We try on different avatars for size. We want to feel like a sense of belonging was a beautiful word you used in our last conversation. And sometimes that need to belong renders us completely outside of ourselves. We lose our own essence, our who we are in truth and what our essential nature is. And then we fall into these preconceived frameworks and molds of, well, you're a woman, you have to look a certain way, talk a certain way, and you're a boy, this is what you should be doing. You should not cry, you should hide your emotions. So we fall into these, strange societal programs because we are just not encouraged in school or in early childhood to truly explore our essential nature, which is neither masculine nor feminine. And you've written amazing stuff on this, and you and Lauren have led amazing trainings in meditation that have touched upon every issue pertaining to human existence, I feel. But how can I discover more of who I am without all the noise and all the, I should be like this and I should be like that. I have this job description, I should, people take on the identity of their profession sometimes, most times, I think.
It's rich because, first of all, of course, we, particularly growing up, we need a sense of safety. And so that sense of belonging, depending on our culture, depending on our family system, we do feel like we need to conform. And also that's what's given. So we each create various levels of control. Decisions, in fact, that we often unconsciously make. In other words, they're sort of default to play the role in the way that it's been given. So I have enormous tenderness for that place in us. And for that need to feel belonging and that need to feel some kind of safety, and the safety in, sometimes it's actual physical safety. Like there can be abusiveness or violence in the world around us. And that's a big issue. But there's also that feeling of, well, I know how to engage. I know the words I'm supposed to say. I know the behavior. We're kind of a herd. We're a herd and we're moving together here. And there's a kind of instinctive, something to honor in that instinctive desire. So there's that. In the process, as we become more aware, you could say, we realize, oh, I have a choice here and there. So we start to inch along and giving ourselves more freedom of expression, more freedom of embodiment. And then we come up against often those control patterns. We all have them. We all have them. And so I keep peeling away, to go right to the very core of the question. And that's where this quality of essence comes in, and the pairing of essential nature, meaning that it's our birthright. It is inborn. What I and Lauren call us to is that that inborn wisdom, that inborn sense of being alive. That's really, if we just feel this moment of life, that I am alive in this moment, we begin to feel, well, how do I know I'm alive? So those practices of oh, well, I'm breathing. Guess what? I'm breathing. That primal, that direct, that immediate. I am breathing. I am receiving from the breath of the earth, from this atmosphere and all of the elements that were created by the, birth and death of stars and the whole expansion of the universe, life on earth, the green growing things providing the oxygen that we need, and that sense of I receive life. I am alive. As we exhale, there's a kind of letting go, but there's also like knowing. It's helpful to know the science sometimes, because we know, of course, that our carbon dioxide feeds the green growing things. So what I'm saying is there's a relationship there. We are always in intimate, natural relationship with that larger field of life. So when we rest in something simple like that, oh my gosh, I'm breathing. And right in this moment, just having time to feel like a sanctuary of just a couple of minutes, a few breaths, to remember that primary, essential reality. I am breathing. I am alive. I am part of this dance of life. And how do you feel? How do we each feel when we remember that simple existential reality? It's in its simplicity, actually is not about how I'm being in the world. It's something private, something sacred and intimate. But we're all doing it. Yes, then we move in the world, and how do I stay in touch? My whole thing really is, how do I stay in touch with the more primary experience, the embodied experience? You see, when we feel something in our bodies with awareness, with this wondrous curiosity, appreciation, when we have that kind of touch, and sometimes it's a really very tender, delicate touch, that awareness comes to meet my experience with curiosity and with tenderness, and whatever is going on, the ache in my heart, whatever it is. So it's that primary connection. And then the practice is to go deeper into that, first and foremost for oneself. And then, huge practice, how do I stay in touch with myself, this moment, this embodied experience that I am? My relationship to the earth, that's the other primary one. We can always feel that we're related to the earth because her gravity is like a hug coming up, holding us. There's so many practices. But then how do I stay in touch? As I dilate, we usually cut off in order to be social or in order to do our to-dos and everything. And that's, everybody has that tendency. In order to drive, we think, we need a different kind of attention to be moving in the world. And that's good. We want that capacity. We want to be able to drive our car. We want to be able to, deal with whatever comes. But there is a practice of resting in your own being. It's a resting. And sometimes it's a joyous, exuberant, but there's a kind of like, here I am in my own energy. Private. It's still private. Nobody has to know what I'm doing inside. But there's a sense, when you're with someone who is in that, there's a kind of flow, there's a kind of ease, even in the wild expressions of that. And then we also become aware of the ways that I'm cutting off. We can become, what are those control patterns that have kept me in the wall? No blame, to be safe. But at a certain point, it's like that those decisions, those patterns are like a little imprisoned, like a shell, a crusty shell. And it doesn't work anymore. We're outgrowing them. We're expanding. We're becoming more free. So dealing with those patterns with, again, great tenderness, no blame. Of course we have them. This is so important. People, when they hear something about this control patterns and I got to get rid of my control patterns, there's a kind of cruelty, like a self-abusive, like punishment that why do I have these patterns? Oh, whoa, that's another part of the pattern, right? So, yeah, I'll stop.
I love this. And when you were talking about one of these practices, which is just, savoring the breath and just feeling that breath from a primordial, essential place, it brings so many things to my mind, and more a feeling state rather than a mental state. But, as I said, I first felt like I just dropped all the luggage I was carrying. And then I also felt as if we are so exiled from ourselves. So exiled. To me, I feel as if all these roles that we are conditioned to play, okay, being feminine is one of them, being masculine is another, but the being a daughter, being a mother, being a sister, father, all these several roles that self, that essential being that's simply breathing, it's just pulsing, savoring the oxygen, the prana, the life force that is around. And all these other cloaks and costumes that we wear, they're useful. They help us function in the world, but they also leave us exiled from our own innate nature. And I would be interested in, and I would do this, I'll make this a practice of mine out of sheer joy and fun, to remind myself more by connecting with my breath, by connecting to that inner essence, which has neither a feminine or a masculine definition or description, but is just pure life beating inside my heart, beating inside my being. Meanwhile, in tandem, living in this world, performing, doing my duties and engaging and interacting with the world. But there can be a marriage. That marriage between your essential, simple, private, sacred self and that finding its expression through your daily interactions.
We're inescapably interconnected.
And such a beautiful thing, because it makes for such a rich existence and a rich adventure.
Yes. That's so powerful. The word exiled from myself. One of the practices, and I think it's true for whatever gender, but very extremely important for women, is to reclaim our inner territory, our actual bodies. Because when we're talking about this, is how am I in my body also? Meaning, am I at home? I am at home in myself. I am at home on this earth. I am at home in this body, meaning this is my sovereign territory. And that we've everyone, been colonized. Somebody else's ideas, all of those, cultural overlays, sometimes more obvious and more extreme and more damaging than even the subtle, some of the subtle ones. But to reclaim that essential freedom and that sense of I am at home. I am at home. I am at home here. So if the ways that we felt exiled or banished or shamed or isolated, lonely, that's another issue right now. I'm physically with the pandemic. So, that gentleness with the self, and what would it be to feel that I'm at home with myself? I mean, ask the question. Yeah.
There's a whole part of us that we're not even aware of, and that their work brings us to that awareness. I thank you so deeply.
Yes. Well, I'm loving this too, Tanya. And I just want to say to everybody, we're easy to find, and we would love for you to participate in our things. And some of you might even want to go deeper into meditation and even learn to teach meditation. So we have stuff happening, and we actually are on social media, and people are doing advertising for us.
So I will post the link to their website below, and you will see the link to their Instagram as well. And I hope to explore more of these deep and rich topics with you, Camille. Thank you so much.
Likewise, Tanya. So deeply appreciate what you're doing.